Hello! Welcome everybody to yet another Mina the Hollower Private Developer Stream. Just as a reminder, this is a secret stream, so don't tell anybody. My name is Alec. I'm a designer here at Yacht Club Games, and I'm directing Mina the Hollower. This is going to be a level design stream, so it's mostly going to be me pushing tiles around and making setups for gameplay. But also in the stream, we got a bunch of other people. Why don't we go down the line and introduce ourselves?
Well, I guess alphabetically, I'm next. I'm Bridget. I'm a gameplay programmer on Mina, and I'll be helping to field questions today.
Hey, I'm Celia. I handle marketing. I will also be handling questions today.
I'm David. I'm a programmer.
Whoa.
Hi, I'm Eli. I'm new here. I'm a junior programmer. I literally started 3 weeks ago.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm new here, and I'm a producer here.
Hello, I'm Rafiq. I'm fairly new as well, and I'm also a level designer on Mina the Hollower.
Hey, I'm Sandy, and I do the pixel art on Mina, and I just want to say a disclaimer that most of the art you're going to see on screen is not final. It's very messy looking. This is a design stream, not an art stream.
Sandy, gosh, what happened?
Look at these rooms. Oh my gosh, they're so boring looking.
Don't look.
So yeah, as we go, feel free to ask questions or talk in the chat, and we're just gonna hang out for a couple hours and put some stuff together. So the first step for making a level was our first stream. We brainstormed a bunch of enemies and objects on the stream. We talked about what would be fun. If any of y'all were there, we were thinking of like this stuff basically. What if there was like a guy that stuck to the wall and like shot projectiles at you? What if there was like a pufferfish that like blew up real big? What else was in there? A tooth block. We talked about a tooth block for a while. We talked about having some like hooks you can grab onto. And now all those things are right here in the game. Another one of those enemies that we talked about was a living DNA looking virusy kind of guy. And then on our second stream, Jasper actually started programming this enemy. Remember, if any of y'all were there, you might remember this guy. He's a little further along now. Look, he can do his cool drill attack. Whoa, he's really bouncing around. And he can do a little spiky hop to get you like that. And those are his two moves. So now that all of these enemies and objects are a little further along, it's time to start making some cool level layouts with all this stuff. I'd say that overall they're not like entirely done, so it's like a little difficult. Normally I think I'd wait a little bit longer, but a lot of the stuff is totally good to go, so we're just going to be making things with what we got. The next step, after all that stuff goes in, is we start laying out what the stage might look like, just in terms of like level structure. So we begin getting in the habit of making little diagrams just like this to show what the different parts of the levels are, what types of stuff you'd encounter in each of those sections of the level, what's like the driving feel behind it, right? You don't want the whole level to feel like you're in the exact same place all the time. You want it to feel like you're going on a little bit of a journey. So we start mapping out what those areas might be. Those are those like green squares that you're seeing on screen, as well as any other like details. Like there should be a mini boss like over here at the start. There should be a boss battle at the end, you know, that kind of thing. And all these arrows are indicating not necessarily where these things are spatially, but just how they would link up to one another. So like from the start of the level, you could go to our first chunk, which is going to be like a nasty beach. And by that I mean a beach with lots of bones and guts and stuff all sticking out of it, because this is the bone beach. And it's like, here's some objects that might work well for like introducing you into the level, the more like simple stuff. Then you're gonna like enter a big nasty monster. So that's like our next section. This is where like all of your pulsating organic tile set art starts to creep in. If we look in our tile sheet, that's like this type of stuff, or like this like wall piece that like postulates as with on like a rhythm. And slightly more complicated enemies and objects. One of the goals of this level structurally is to have like a zone where you're like going up and down throughout the level. So you like start on an exterior, you go into an interior, and then you resurface out in the exterior again, and then you have to like find another opening to get down below. Something a little bit similar to what's that like third dungeon in Link to the Past? For both Light World and Dark World, they do it for the third one. It's like the desert palace.
Bone area?
I want like a map of the whole thing, this kind of a thing. Yeah. So like this idea, if any of you guys have played Link to the Past, where you like go inside of a dungeon and then like, look, there's like other exits. So like after a while being in the dungeon, you like pop out up here. And for this one, they only do it like twice. It's like you go in and then you like go out here and then the boss room is there. But that one time they do it, man, it sure is impactful. And then later in the game, in Skull Woods over here, they take that same idea and they go nuts with it. And this whole dungeon has like lots of entrances and exits kind of all over the place. So these are like structurally speaking, these are the things that are in our brains right now. So that's why you're going like up and down and up and down. After you resurface, you go back inside, and there's going to be a bunch of characters like mining the inside of this decomposing creature for its bones. Here, Sandy, do you mind if I show some of that art?
No, that's that should be cool.
Here, I'll pop.
You can show whatever you want.
Why isn't it loading? Come on, there we go. So here's a miner that'll be an enemy. There'll also be these guys that are NPCs that you can talk to. They're here like pillaging all of the valuable bones of the dungeon that you're inside. So as you get further along, you're going to start to see more of those guys. As far as enemies and objects, usually at the end of a stage, we start remixing and throwing like everything at the player. You've learned all of the stuff that we're asking you to learn throughout the dungeon, and then it's like, okay, here's your big test. Put it all together, figure it out. And then you fight a boss, and since this game is more open-ended, it's not like Mega Man or Shovel Knight, where after you beat the boss, it just like warps you out of there. It makes more sense when all of these things can logically connect in a way that doesn't introduce boring backtracking. And so that's why there's these arrows going from the boss battle to like this cliffside area, which is like very close to the start of the level. So you don't have to spend too much time getting out of there. And the time that you are spending getting out of there can have like new and engaging content instead of just asking you to like walk backwards through rooms that are now empty. And then you're out of there, and then you're back to, you know, right next to the hub, and you'll go to a different level from there, presumably. So that's like the big picture. But before we start really diving into each of these sections, I find that it helps to have some ideas and rooms that you can anchor the level on. The worst thing in the world when you're doing art or designing anything is just having like a blank piece of paper, right? So it's like, hey, there could be a room where it's like this. Oh, this could be kind of a cool room. That helps because you can start slotting those around, and then it's like, okay, I have an idea for like what's going to be in this level, and I just need to like come up with how these bits connect now. And that's an easier equation to solve. So yeah, let's dive into the level tool. This is a program called Tiled. It's what we made all the Shovel Knight levels with. Same program. It's free. It's open source. You can use this to make level layouts for your own game if desired. I love Tiled. It's the best. These yellow squares that you're seeing are different rooms in the game. So you'll notice, like, if we like look at this section, right, it's like 2 screens and then like 2 long screens, and then you can like see how all that works, and it automatically makes the screen transitions work and all that. Whee, look at that. We put all of our objects and stuff on different layers. So there's a bunch of art layers, and usually there's like a layer of gameplay objects. If you paste any of these guys around and then you hit a button, it'll refresh the game, and then bada bing, bada boom, there they all are. So the workflow is making a change and then reloading the game and then doing that 1,000 times until the level is all perfect. So right now what we've got is like the bones of like some beginning areas, but I'm not quite ready to dive into what would actually be there. But I do know that, like, you know, it should start by like going down from the hub, which is very crappily laid out right here. And then you're in like the bone beach. And then from there, you should go to the right a little bit, get your bearings. And then I want to do like a tall cliffside thing where you're like going into and out of caves and stuff. This is a level where you're going to be going into and out of like the dungeon a lot, so it makes sense to start that idea, I think, like right at the start. Before you even see the quote-unquote dungeon, you're like going in and out of a lot of places and like spatially navigating already. So we know we're going to have some like cliff stuff, you're going to go into some caves, it's going to be dark in there, you're going to fight some stuff, and then eventually you're going to go up and be in more towards the rest of the level. All this junk over here is a smorgasbord of like other stuff used for testing. Here's like a couple of shots from the trailer you might recognize. And then the rest of this stuff is like rooms that we make to help facilitate testing the enemies. It's hard to like test the enemy unless you make some setups for them. So it's like, how does this guy work when he's like on a room with some pits? Let's like find out. Okay, that's like kind of engaging. What else we got? Here's fighting this guy on like a more narrow layout. I think this whole chunk is like a bunch of setups with this guy to see like how he could chase you around and how that could be fun. Other stuff in this level, other than this cool enemy. Here, get out of there. There's going to be a bunch of metal being introduced. You might see this a little earlier in the game, but this is a level that's going to like lean into it a lot. So the way this metal works is, unlike normal ground, which you burrow into, if you try to do that on metal, you just can't. Too bad. But that's really cool because it makes you think about the combat differently and approach situations differently. We're going to have these explosive barrels in here. The way that they work is if you burrow underneath one, you can actually pick it up like this. Then you can chuck it and blow up some guys. Easy peasy. But what do you know? Put an explosive barrel on some metal and suddenly you like can't burrow underneath it to pick it up. So you gotta like worry about the hazards differently. Now I gotta like smack them in a direction to like to get any use out of them. That was a weird bug. So we're gonna have metal, we're gonna have explosives, we're gonna have these virusy guys going around. We're gonna have conveyor belts. I guess it ain't a yacht club game unless there's a part with some conveyor belts. So we got these in the game. We have a couple of variants as well. This type you just bounce on because it's made of metal. But we also have another type where it looks more like sand. And this is like a conveyor, but also it's going to move you around. So I'm thinking that all the sand will be in like the beginning of the level, introducing you to being on a conveyor type object. Don't worry about the fact that it's blue. It looks weird, we know. So you're going to start with like being able to burrow on those conveyor tiles, and then like later throughout the stage we're going to switch them to be metal to up the ante. So we got all that. I think these things are going to go in a number of areas, but it would make sense if you saw a lot of them in here because visually they fit, and I think the gameplay would complement this area well. These guys are like those Zelda traps, kind of, where you like activate it and then they pinch you. But unlike the Zelda traps, there's a few more cool things about them. If you hit the eyeball, like the pupil part, like that, you can knock them back. So if you're like really...
that sound effect is in the game, what you just did.
it should be like it should be like organic and gross though.
Squishy.
And if you like miss the timing, then they don't, right? You're like, ooh, I messed up, and you get hit anyways. So I think these guys would work pretty well in here. Here's some like setups with those guys. I've been talking a lot about like going up and down throughout the level, right? But like, how do you actually do that? Well, it's a game about burrowing. That's our main mechanic. So it makes sense that we would be utilizing that. So here's like a room to test all of those things. What's it like to have, you know, those Zelda-like areas where the sand is like pushing you towards a pit, and then you fall in, and then you like warp out, and whoa, now I like landed down here. How could you get back up? Well, what if you hopped in a geyser and then landed up on the surface? What if we don't want a pit? What if we wanted it to be like a special tile? And if you're clever, then you can burrow right onto that tile just to like go down there and get right back up with a geyser. And we also just got stairs in case we want to have stairs. But I'm thinking those probably shouldn't be in this area. If we're going to make it like you're digging up and down between two layers, you should actually have to do that. So I'm probably not going to use these stairs much at all. Other levels can have stairs that are less organic. What else we got? We want to have some moving collision like this. If you remember the Tower of Fate levels in Shovel Knight, at the very end, usually we would like do something like this where like, don't get pinched or else you die or take damage. So we've got all that working in this level. Theming wise, I think it would be fun if all of those worked in a slightly more complicated way than the types of setups that we explored with Shovel Knight. So where's this room? Right there. So in addition to just like a layer that like comes up and down, you can like make these into like really bizarre shapes of whatever you want. And you can even put like breakable objects on there as well. So you could looks like that one's acting a little weird. But like we're gonna explore having big old crushing shapes with like breakable objects in them. These teeth blocks were another thing that's going to go in this level that we talked about on that first private stream that we did. Was it private? No, that was a public one. Just a simple block that you can break, but we could put them on these big moving layers to make like organic things. If you're going to be inside of like a big whale thing, it might be fun if there were sections where like, you know, the lungs are like expanding and contracting and you're like on top of them as they're all moving around, or pieces where like bits of guts and teeth are like chomping on a rhythm up and down, and you have to navigate through that stuff. So we also got that. There's this cool enemy that spits projectiles at you. They're very much a Mega Man-y type of enemy. They do like a simple, like slightly tricky pattern, and they spit at you on a regular cadence. One cool thing is that since they're stuck to the wall and they protrude outward a little bit, you can make setups where like, I want to get close to them to like get some damage in, right? But then they're gonna like maybe run into me. So I imagine having this type of thing where like you want to be where they are might be good. And they all bounce against each other, so we could do a section with like lots of them like dang it, moving unpredictably. One cool thing you got to think about in this game, though, is that what if you don't have the whip, right? What if you only have, like, a shorter range weapon, like the daggers? It should still be possible to, like, do everything. So part of that is, like, weapon design, making sure that, like, everything can, like, kind of get you there. You could do that, or you could, like, do a cool little dashy move with these things to try and close that distance, and then come back if you wanted some quick damage. But as I play the level, I'm probably switching around between like doing the whip and like trying stuff with the daggers and all that, just to make sure it can be fun for everybody for different reasons. We also got the hammer, but that one I don't think's ready.
It's getting there.
It's getting there. That ain't your fault though. I gotta give you feedback for that. That hammer bug has been on me for a while. Probably missing some stuff. What else is going to be in this level? We're going to have these hooks. Our magic calculation for what makes a fun and engaging whole level is usually like 5 new enemies that are mostly unique to only that area, and 5 cool gameplay objects that are mostly unique to that area. So I think this hook is our last of the objects. I was messing around with the art on this a little bit. I haven't committed these changes, so it looks a little different for you guys.
You made it smaller.
Yeah, I think it's got to be smaller.
Alec, we've had a couple questions from folks, like kind of asking, like Hi S asked, like how you come up with all the interactions between like different objects and different, like, you know, I guess ground types. If you have any thoughts about that.
How do we just like come up with the whole set for a level, basically?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with brainstorming. Again, like the blank page is the worst part, so it just helps to be like, hey, this would be cool, and that would be cool, and that would be cool. And you're like, okay, let's commit to that. You know, we know that we're gonna have, what were our earliest ideas for this area? It was like, we should definitely have like a weird bacterial infection-y type of enemy. I really wanted to like break a tooth block. I don't know why, I just thought that would look cool. So I was like, we should have a tooth block. And we need something that could like carry you from like one area to another. We don't really have anything like that. It's something that utilizes aerial space a little bit more. So it was, how about we add this little hook? And then you just start like filling in the gaps, right? It's like, well, this enemy is like kind of big, but like not that big. So we should have an enemy that's like even bigger. That's the one down here that's not ready yet. Sandy's actually working on the art for that guy right now. We should have like a bigger enemy, and we should have a smaller enemy. So that's what these little like grubs are. Oh, I didn't show off the little grubs. I'll do that in a second. We also think, you know, this guy is like a mostly melee-y guy, so it'd be useful probably to have somebody that's shooting a projectile. You just want like a good variety of different types of enemies in basically every respect, right? It's like some of these are more monster-y, one of them is like more of a human, right? Some of them shoot projectiles, some are more melee, some are fast, some are slow. The thinking being, if you have like a diverse set of stuff then that are providing one interesting type of gameplay versus another, you can combine them, and without doing much work even, it's easy to stumble into situations where those two gameplay feelings either compete or collide or complement one another to make something fun for the player. If every enemy all shot projectiles, it would be kind of hard for me to make a level with that, right? I wouldn't know why I would use one versus another. I would just probably only use one of them for the whole level, and that would be a pretty boring level. So making sure that in terms of visual design, in terms of size, in terms of like what they do, how they move, and their individual properties too. Like some of these enemies float above the ground, some of them walk on the ground. So if you have like a pit in the middle of your screen, that can be significant because one of the enemies could reach you, but one of them couldn't. Just making sure that like everything fits into a nice category, and you have like lots of categories. I think that makes an easy set of stuff to design around. And then further along in the process, we usually start realizing types of interactions maybe we didn't think of but would be cool. What are some examples of that with Bone Beach? Has that really happened? Like this puffer squid enemy. I also didn't show this guy. Oh my gosh. This guy, he expands and blows up. So even this morning, Bridget was asking me like, hey, should this guy like react to being hit by other enemies? Maybe that would be fun. So usually along the way, we stumble into situations that could be fun or things that feel like they should work, you know? And then it's pretty easy from there. So I'm going to show off these last two guys that I totally forgot about. First up, we have these egg sacs. They look kind of like xenomorph eggs from Alien. I'm going to just pop a few of these down here so you can get an idea for it. Oh, I didn't talk about the hooks. They're pretty self-explanatory, though. It's a thing that you jump on, and then you can hop off of it. And maybe they could go, like, up high in the air. Maybe they could, like, patrol around. That's all that one is. But these egg sacs, if we reload the level, you see they just sit there ominously. If you approach one, oh, it starts wiggling a bit. And if you get a little closer, oh, it's really wiggling. And then it pops, and then this, like, gross grub pops out. And he runs around slightly unpredictably, but sometimes he, like, turns to face you. Come on, get me. Oh, nope. Oh, he got me. Thinking being this would be, like, a good, easy little fodder enemy. And they also chain react. So if I, like, approach the set, then they all wiggle. And then if I get closer, then they all pop one at a time. So that should be good for, like, pitching the player. It would be fun to have to navigate through mazes of this type of stuff. Like, oh, geez, I don't want to, like, pop them all. Oh, I better, like, be careful. And then our last enemy over here, I'll pop a few of these guys in there, is... This started as a puffer fish. I keep calling this a puffer, like a puffer fish, but because, as you'll see, it's an enemy that starts one size, then inflates to be much larger. But every game like this has a puffer fish, so we were like, what else could it be that's cooler?
Puffer Cthulhu.
So it's a puffer Cthulhu, yeah. These guys, they kind of like mill about, like, slightly awkwardly, but if they get hit, then they bonk, explode out, and they start bouncing around with their big brains. And then they shoot spikes at you. Oh my gosh. So they're like an enemy that's, like, not very scary seeming until they are. They're like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of enemy, where you're like, I don't need to worry about those. And then you're like, oh geez, now I really do.
Do you think they're super smart because they have super huge brains?
I think they're really dumb because they keep, like, bouncing on their brain. It's probably giving them brain damage every single time they attack, doing their brain bounce. They should get dumber. The AI gets, like, stupider the longer they're alive.
Like, the longer they're on screen, like, the dumber they are.
Yeah.
Like, the more random the bouncing is. That's fun.
Another thing that we like to think about when we're designing these enemies and stuff is just how it feels like the entire game is escalating. Like the crypt, which was our demo level, which is in a lot of the trailer. If you have seen that stage, that's, like, intended to be an earlier one. So the traps are, like, pretty basic. The ideas are, like, kind of basic. It's more about just, like, giving the player opportunities to use their normal abilities in ways that are clever and fun and make sense. But, like, as the game progresses, we start dipping our toes a little bit more into what if we made those actions a little more difficult? What if we made you think about your kit in different ways? What if we restricted some of those abilities and forced you to think a little bit more creatively? So, like, most of the enemies in the crypt are, like, pretty easy to fight no matter where you are, but, like, a lot of these guys have more limiting properties to them. Like this guy, when he's, like, in the air, I can't hit him quite as easy, and I'm, like, used to being able to hit guys. So now I'm, like, maybe thinking a little bit more about jumping and attacking, whereas I wouldn't necessarily have incorporated that into my playstyle earlier. Same goes with, like, the metal ground, right? It's like, oh, you're used to having your comfortable burrow, but, like, what are you gonna do if you don't have your burrow? That kind of a thing. So making sure that, like, the set is escalating from the previous set, but is still diverse enough to have, like, lots of different types of gameplay. Some enemies that are easy, some that are difficult, some that have a lot of health, some that don't have a lot of health, you know, all that. So I think that's my spiel. I think we're ready to actually start making some stuff now, right?
Do it.
Awesome. Okay. So ahead of this, I wrote down some ideas of things that might be kind of fun. It's easy to just start plopping things down and not really think about what that area is or like what the purpose of that room is. And if you work like that, it tends to be that the player doesn't really understand the purpose of the room or why it exists or like what they are supposed to be doing. So when a room has like a more concrete idea to it that you can feel, that helps anchor things, I think, pretty well. So some of these ideas, an egg layer, wouldn't it be impactful and scary to drop down with one of these little like burrow holes, just like this, and then appear right in the middle of like a million egg sacs just all around you, and you're like, oh god, I have to move very carefully. That kind of a thing. Wouldn't that be fun? So just to begin, I'm just going to set up those warps so that actually works. So I'll grab this object, put it right there in the middle, take that, and put it right there in the middle. This is a warp. It should go to egg layer 0. I don't know if you guys can see the text that I'm typing. Probably not, but that doesn't really
Donut
matter.
said, "Is it an egg layer or egg layer?" Ha ha.
I guess it's
Get it?
both.
Wow.
And then that warp is
Wow.
going to connect to this spot. We're going to name this egg layer 0. And then that should work. Now you enter. Oh, geez. Oh, gosh. I'm scared already. Wow. Awesome. It'd be fun if this was like actually something that you had to figure out. But you probably want that first scene to be like more contained. So I'm actually gonna have it start in a different room, and then you're gonna like walk up into this disaster. And I've run out of space at the bottom of the screen, so I gotta move all this stuff up.
There are any questions that people have been asking that we've been collecting, might be a decent time to start asking.
That's an uncomfortable room. Now combine it with darkness mechanics. Yeah, actually, I made Sandy a bug this morning to make it so that you can have a room in here that's like darker. You guys know how in Link's Awakening you enter that forest at the start, and then the whole screen like dynamically like gets a little bit darker. We have tech to do that. So like, look, when I like walk from this screen to this one, it's like, ooh, the palette for the whole game shifts a little bit. So I think that would be really cool. Yeah, I was thinking maybe we should like have more super dark areas in this stage, Sandy. Like,
You're like inside a place with no light.
yeah, like a situation like this where you're like dropping down into into all this mess. It would be cool if it was like a little bit darker when you do that. But I was also thinking that it might be fun if some objects were tied to that palette shifting. Like imagine my room with the explosive barrels here. Like imagine if this room was like super dark and it was like hard to see stuff, but like when you like explode a barrel, right, for like this whole sequence, the entire level, like global palette's like brighter, so you can actually see stuff.
Pretty cool.
And then it like goes away.
Yeah.
And maybe like, you know, if a candle is on screen, then you can it like raises the brightness by one tick, right? And if you break it, you get an item, but like it's like a little bit darker, you know.
I wish we could palette shift within an 8x8 space. That way we could have like actual luminescence from candles or light sources.
You know, I think it's actually cooler if we don't do that because I mean, you've played games with that type of mechanic all the time, right? I feel like if this is one of those things where
it doesn't have to be like pitch black like otherwise, but
you just mean for like just for a little bit of style.
yeah, because if you have just one wall candle in a room and it makes the entire like it shifts the entire screen, up like 3 palettes, that would be a little bit weird, I think.
What if each wall candle shifted it up by like 1 to a total of like 4 stages of brightness?
Yeah, maybe it might look cool. Any form of dynamic lighting might be interesting.
Hey, there were a couple other questions that kind of scrolled by earlier, Alec, when you were kind of doing the initial tour. If I can ask them real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Somebody, let's see, Darktone asked earlier specifically about the virus, kind of what made that one stand out, and I guess more generally, like how does the team decide which ideas are the ones to stick with?
Do we have a VOD of that first meeting? That would be cool. Because you can if you want, you can even watch us like go through all of that process for these exact enemies. But just to recap it, we go one by one, line by line through all of our ideas. They are in a Google spreadsheet that looks just like this. And we, as a team, just like pitch each one, and sometimes we're like, oh, that sounds cool, and then we'll like highlight it green if everyone's in agreement. We'll make it yellow if it's like, oh, that could be cool. Usually by the end of it, it's like we have some ideas where like, oh, that'll definitely be fun, and some where like, maybe it could. And then me or Sean or whoever will go and try and figure out what are like the missing pieces. And like I was talking about earlier, try to assemble like a set of cool, diverse enemies. Spreadsheet, yeah. Making games is a lot of looking at spreadsheets for sure. So this is gonna be like too many. I already know it, but what does it feel like to just drop right
tiny
in?
room. No escape.
It's definitely too many. But let's just see.
Oh god.
It doesn't even work. What the heck? That not build correctly, maybe.
I think you popped some of them previously and they just didn't respawn.
Oh. Let's see. Okay, so what's the most I can actually have at a time? Probably like 5. Any more than that, you like really can't deal with it. So let's start taking some away. Might make more sense if it was like you drop in here and then you like see a tunnel in front of you. And you're like, okay, time to go through the scary tunnel. Maybe that's what you could be thinking. There could be like other things to provide more fear. Like it could be like pits on the side, maybe. It is cool if there's just like really a lot of them, though. Maybe this should be like a wall that blocks you. You're like, oh god. Here we go. Put this next to this.
Hey, Alec.
Mm-hmm.
Salesman George asks, when it comes to the concept stage of levels, is the level idea what inspires the mechanics or the mechanics that influences the level?
Is it the level idea that it influences? I mean, it's both, right?
Yeah.
Usually the theme comes first. At least that's how Shovel Knight and Mina worked, where we decided, hey, we want to have like an area with, you know, a frozen tundra and like trains, and that's our theme. And then as we're you know, taking progression into account, as we're deciding on enemies and objects for that zone, we just kind of wrapper them like to suit the theme that we'd already decided upon. Like if we're making a new enemy for the frozen area, we're gonna, you know, try and make it frozen themed or snow themed or whatever the case.
Be like this. You like jump to the side, navigate a little bit. This should be like a little taller. Not that tall.
Can you burrow under the eggs?
Nope. They block you. Put a little island in the corner here for weenies, so you can activate them and then run away. Maybe this should like feel more safe. Like carve it out a tiny bit. Now you can like trigger them and then run away like a coward.
I think you mean a strategic, cautious player.
Isn't that what I said? My bad. Oh. They can fight him from safety. It's kind of a bummer that you drop down into here and then they like just run off screen because there's like all that vertical space up there. I don't want them like running off over there. I want them like mostly contained. So...
Do you mean like... I didn't know if you meant like they should stay within camera bounds or if that was something that you were planning to change through the level.
It makes sense that they would go off screen, and sometimes I think that could be good, but like right now I don't want that. Okay, that first one's alright now. I don't like that extra one. That's the one too many. But carving a little bit of this makes sense. And then you have like a safe spot to land on, but it's still not ideal. I don't want you leaving the screen on like the edges, because then you could just avoid all of the enemies entirely. So I'm gonna like block off these parts and give you options on the side, but still like force you to contend with all of the nonsense that's gonna be going on in the middle.
This is just my question. How many iterations do you think you go through on a level before it's like done?
What counts as an iteration? Every time I build the game? Or like...
I don't know. No, I mean like you know, drafts of a level. I'm gonna move this here. I'm gonna change this room.
Dude,
and then like,
dude, I
and
don't
then
know.
pause. This seems right.
I remember on Shovel Knight, levels were still being iterated on like a day before we shipped. I think it's like never done. It's like
Yeah,
there's
just
like always something that feels like it could be tweaked, but you know, you got to finish sometime.
like at what point do we have to ship, or you have to just stop?
Yeah.
One important thing with every room in the game pretty much is to, one, make sure the idea is clear. I think this is like an idea that's starting to feel like pretty clear. Like when the player drops in here, you know, they should immediately know like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing now, that kind of a thing. But it's also good when the room escalates as it goes. So if we're like starting you off with fighting 4 of these guys on a big open area, then we should probably either fight more of them later or fight less of them, but it's more difficult, or it needs to up the ante somehow, or else it feels weird that the end of the room is like easier than the start of it. So to accomplish that goal, I'm gonna like thin out the space that you have on subsequent platforms. I think you need like a little more room. Let me give you 2 more tiles. Can't believe how good I am at I'm getting at like assembling this bonkers ass tile set art. Okay. And I like that you have an option for like a easier one over on the side, but it should be like even easier. I'm just gonna give you one. So now you drop in. This is what people are probably gonna do. It's still a little hard. One thing that's interesting about this game and how it influences the level design is that you can like level up, right? So when we're making a Shovel Knight level, we kind of just only need to design for one character, right? Everyone's like probably basically they probably all have access to the same suite of moves and abilities. Maybe you have like a little less health or whatever, but it's like not that big of a difference. But you can like upgrade your attack power in this game, which means that like this enemy could take 1 hit to kill, or they could take like 2 hits to kill. And that is a tremendous difference in the feel of it. So I actually have it to be that they die in 2 hits, but if we open up our cool developer commands over here, I can actually change it so that now I am what I assume is the power level of a player who gets to this point in the game. I'm assuming that you're roughly level 5 for everything, because this is like, I don't know, halfway through the game, right? So now they die in 1 hit, which makes all this a lot more doable. That's like what they should. They should die in 1 hit though, which means I can actually put more of these guys than I thought. Hooray! You don't want too many though. If you have like 20 of these things all running around, it's not going to feel like a Game Boy game anymore. You're going to be like, nuh-uh, that's like too advanced. No way a Game Boy could possibly calculate the AI of 20 guys running around. Yeah, 10 is max level. Okay. I kind of wish there was like a reason to go over here. And I wish it was more scary to be on here. So I'm gonna actually take that space away. And then I'm gonna put some, I'm gonna put a little something over there, so you wanna go that way. What do we got? I could put some candles on the ground. No, I wanna use those tooth blocks. I'm gonna put some of those there. And they'll drop a magic and a bone. Maybe a health pickup in that corner. So we do have health pickups, but I'm trying not to use them pretty overwhelmingly. Like, this is a game where you can heal, right, by like drinking your flask. So the more the player's only thinking about that in terms of getting their health back, I think the better. And we should reserve health pickups for like only times where it would provide a different texture flavor. Like in a boss fight, right? If you had some health pickups on their corners of the arena, that can be fun because you might be thinking like, oh, when should I break them during the fight? And when should I go for them? And if they do break in the middle of the fight, should I like run over there and try to grab it, or is that like not worth it? But just in the regular throes of the level, I think I would want the player like feeling like they should drink their healing potion instead. Okay, so now you pop down here. You can hop over here. You'll probably do that and grab those things. Now you like understand that there's safety there. You might pop these guys. That's probably what you'll do. Then you can like fight them over here, and it's no big deal.
One hit looks like it's so much better.
Yeah.
I was like really struggling when there were 2 hits.
I mean, in this game, right, like, we're trying to make it so that the player has a lot of freedom to explore. Kind of more like a Zelda 1 type of thing, where the world is open, go have fun, and go quest, and, like, figure it all out, as opposed to, like, an Ocarina of Time or whatever, where it's like, hey, Link, now you need to go over here and give a letter to a guard and then go up the mountain.
It's so bitter.
I can't help it. So what that means is that we need other ways to discourage the player from going somewhere that's too hard for them, or maybe they shouldn't go yet. So difficulty, hopefully, is accomplishing those goals for us. If the player gets here and these guys take 2 hits to kill versus 1, that's going to make this level like much harder. And so with stuff like that, I'm hoping we can disincentivize, but still allow sequence breaking type stuff.
Definitely.
This is like not scary enough. There needs to be like a million egg sacs. The thrust of the room has been lost throughout this iteration. This is supposed to be the scary egg layer. That's what we named it. Look, egg layer.
It needs to be way darker too.
Yeah,
so you like don't know how many there are.
I think just like step 1 is just putting more on the screen. I'll like have some up here maybe. And then it's a thing where there's like, they're kind of all around you. It's lame if these are up here, but they literally don't do anything, which would be the case if you couldn't get up here. So I need to make this upper portion also contain a little bit of gameplay. Maybe it's like these guys are popping even when you're here, and then they're like running around up here, and then later you open that up and you have to deal with it. So something like this.
We need a cool like foreground parallaxing element that looks like spider webs or like strands of goopy flesh or something.
Oh yeah.
So you really feel like you're enclosed in the space.
I had a dumb art idea for this stage, Sandy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, me and Sean were like talking about Morse code a lot. We were like, could there be an enemy that does like Morse code with like their patterns or something? And if you like, like if an enemy was throwing out pickaxes, for example, on a rhythm of like 1, 1, 2, 1, long pause, right? You could make the gameplay like a secret Morse code message that no one would ever know about.
I wouldn't ever know about it.
And so we were talking about that with the enemies, and then it was like, no, there's no way that would make for a good enemy. That's a dumb detail. But it could be a dumb detail in like the level art. What if like these like organic elements that like animate, they like did so on a rhythm to like make a message. Boom, 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 boom.
Well, What would the message be?
It would be the monster that you're in. It's like talking to you, and it's like a secret message. It like
Oh, like it's warning you?
Yeah, and it could like change as you go deeper and deeper into it. It starts.
No, it's got to say bone up.
Oh my
Why
God.
would he say that?
It's rooting for you.
If it's like directing you, if it's telling you like up, down, right, left, and it's like helping guide you through its body.
Help, kill
So it can eat you. Just release me.
Release me.
Let's do this. So yeah, we could type a few cool messages, and then there could be.
Red Yacht says, "Remember to drink your Ovaltine."
Yeah, my vote goes to Red Yacht's suggestion.
And Boulder Dash.
Wait,
it says we're trying to. Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, Boulder Dash says we're trying to reach you about your spark generator's extended warranty.
Oh my gosh, Drac. I like that one too. Drac Arts, it says eat soup, so I think that could also be an option.
Eat soup.
So I'm gonna have these eggs pop over on the sides, but there also needs to be a way to get up there. So I'm gonna make some stairs right there. So if you go this way, maybe you like popped them earlier. Now these guys are like all running around, and that's something you got to deal with later. Maybe you should have some more teeth. Blocking that off, so it feels more like you have to actually engage it. What's that?
Question from Sean H, who asks, how do you balance knowing the player can heal and when you should place healing items? Well, I guess there aren't really healing items very often.
Yeah, for this game, it's really just kind of shaking out to be like, don't give the player health. And instead, it's like at each checkpoint, when you get all of your vials back, like refilling your Estus flasks in like a Dark Souls, those are like indications and markers of progress and player health that can be consistent. Shovel Knight was like pretty similar too. It was like near a checkpoint, we probably want to put like a turkey or an apple or whatever.
Your health is also restored when you hit a checkpoint, so you have quite a few opportunities to get back to full pretty easily.
Yeah.
Whereas like in Shovel Knight, there was nothing like that other than just finding healing items.
I remember at least like for the crypt demo, there's some, you know, some spots where like right before the boss or during the boss, you could get some help.
Right. There's even a lore reason for that too.
Another thing that I like to think about when making rooms is to try and make sure that all of the elements feel like they deserve to be there. You know, it might make sense that like you have this one tooth in the corner like we put here, right? But it's kind of lame if that's the only one in the entire room. It's like, why'd you have to introduce that in there if you're not going to do anything with it? So if I put one of something in there, I usually strive to like make it more of an element and like have more of that one thing in there. A messy room is one with like one type of every single object, right? You're just asking the player every second to like think about a new thing and remember how it works. So if you like condense it to only be dealing with a few things at a time, but like really dealing with those things, then I find that to be a little bit easier. This is starting to look a little scarier already. Dude, I want to put some, like, I just want to put them in the corner, like, for no reason. I'm gonna delete that, I just know it, but it's so tempting.
I'm trying to think of how we could have a collision tile or just even a ground tile that looks like an egg sack, but it's like not, you know, it's like a non-interactable version.
Yeah,
just for flavor.
I know what you mean. That would be good,
Yeah.
probably. I'm gonna move my spawn point there so that I don't have to fly over there all the time. And wait for that to finish building.
While you're waiting, question again from Reg Yacht asks, do you have any ideas for areas that will dramatically change after doing something like defeating the boss?
Maybe? Maybe. Let's just say that. Sounds like this was answered already with regards to speedrunning / sequence breaking, but how often does consideration for advanced play / speedrunning go into level design? Especially tricky when it potentially clashes with casual / regular level design. Yeah, totally. I think that the answer for that is that when we design stuff, the most important thing by far is how like a regular player is going to interact with all of this stuff. We're like designing for like the critical path for like an average player. But we oftentimes just really can't help ourselves, and it's always fun when there's like lots of little secrets and shortcuts. So usually I'll throw a lot of those in there as I work on it. Before even a single speedrunner picks up this game, right? I've been playing it and making levels for it and mastering the mechanics for like years, right? So I go crazy if I don't start to add those types of things, just so for my sake it can be more fun to play the game. One really great way of getting that stuff across in this game is with the mobility, just like most games we make. So like this seems like, oh geez, I have to like deal with these enemies, but a more confident player should have easy ways to like navigate around having to do any of this. So I think just already in this room we're seeing some of that already, right? Like this is how I would probably do the room. I would land in here, I'd break these things, I'd like dig under those guys, and I'd like get the hell out. So that seems pretty good already. What was I doing though? We're working on the side area. Let's see how that works. This beginning part's feeling pretty good. Those guys there are like too much now. And these eggs aren't popping when I'm like near them, so they need a larger range.
Can they pop like across wall or like collision tiles?
Yeah, it's just how close you are. So it seems like our distances right now are like a little too tight. It needs to pop when I'm like on this tile, I think. There's no way to make this distance any smaller. So if I want this behavior, therefore these guys are going to have to pop a little bit sooner, just in general. And then we can actually see their range. Looks like it is pretty good. But their Warren range is like too large now. So make that like 3.
Oh geez. It's a lot of circles.
This might look like a nightmare, but we didn't have this at all in Shovel Knight. You couldn't like visualize when things would aggro or not. So when I see this, I'm like, oh, thank God. Yes, I love it.
The debugging is cool. The overlapping circle hell
Yeah.
is more intimidating.
I kind of wish that this guy was a little bit easier. Let's move this down by 1. Give you 1 more tile space. So it's like more obvious that you can go over there. Honestly, I think if I have that, maybe I don't need these teeth over here on the side. That might be overkill. And then this is like a big long stretch that we're asking you to do. So if there is going to be stuff over here on this side, I don't want you to have to like do that twice. So it should be just like a little thing up here if we're going to have anything. Let's drag these out of here. Game keeps crashing.
What is it?
I don't know. That was a hard crash. Boop, 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 boop. Good old task manager.
Cypherpunk asks, any chance of a Mina randomizer?
There's a chance. But currently it is not in development. I think that would be so cool. I think that's an amazing idea. I think those Zelda randomizers are really amazing. It's hard to know what the heck you're gonna randomize though until the game is like done, right? And why that would be cool. The fun of a Zelda randomizer is that like you can't go anywhere unless you have those items. So where those items are and how those unlock different parts of the map is like a huge part of it. But in this game, we're saying we're gonna let you like go pretty much anywhere anyways. So if you wanted to like do the dungeons out of order, you could just do that anyways, right? That's like already built into the main game. So I'm not sure how a randomizer could be like really cool. But I love the idea.
Jasper was talking about bingo too, which I had not heard of.
Yeah, bingo's cool too. I mean, it'd still be neat if, like, you know, this enemy now has more health, this enemy has less health. Now, instead of this pickup, there's this one. Now, this trinket's, like, over here. I think it could still be really cool, but I don't know if it could be as cool. And I don't want to do it unless it can be not only as cool, but even cooler. This one's still not popping. Unless you're, like, actually really close. It needs to be more consistent, so I'm just gonna increase that range. 2.5. So now those guys are all going crazy. And if I want that chest, I gotta deal with that. What are they doing up there in that corner? They're all getting stuck up there. I wonder what that's all
Grab it
about.
from the chest. They're gonna beat you to the treasure.
Well, that's not great. I'll just add a piece of collision up there, but maybe their AI has got an issue.
I love that there's like a couple bugs during stream. It's just very real.
I mean, the best way to work on the enemy is to be actually using them in context and figuring out what works and what doesn't. So that's always a good thing. Sandy, there's not like a... I want like a regular tile in the Bone Beach tile set. Just like a normal... Like a normal, like, 1x1. But all I got is these, like, skulls. But they look like bones.
I mean, you're in the Bone Beach. You gotta have bones.
I know, but I want, like...
Like a rock?
I want, like, this.
Oh. Yeah, like a rock or something.
It's just, like, something that, like, looks normal, you know?
Put that wherever you want.
Yeah.
And all. There's that pile of goop next to the bone.
What?
Pile of goop? Where?
Yeah.
This?
Yeah.
Ew.
It's not really meant for this area.
Yeah.
Ew.
I'll use that, though. That looks a little better.
I forget what game we're making.
Okay, here's where we're crashing, Bridget. What is this? It's like whenever I build.
What's the call stack?
I don't know. Hard crash again.
I'll sync and run it.
Okay, I'll commit this for you.
Oh yeah. Darktone said, "What if you have the spider buddy trinket equipped and the spider eggs leave you alone?" So genius.
Do you think we should do weird little things like that?
Yes.
Definitely.
But like not tell anybody. It's not in the description. You just figure it out.
The only issue with that is if the spider buddy trinket is really cool and everybody just has it on for this. It should be that they're like more attracted to you. They're like more aggressive and like faster if you have the spider trinket.
And nobody's gonna want to be buddies with the spider anymore.
Not for this level. Okay, you can update, Bridget. I gotta get
Yeah,
that.
I'll see if I can get that fixed.
So if we're waiting for Bridget to fix something, we can answer some questions from chat.
Sure, keep throwing them out.
Okay, guys, start firing off questions. Let's see.
Well, I think it should. Is it just not playable?
It's just every once in a while when I build, it like keeps crashing. Like here, look, everything's fine. I can like play the level. And then F4, it's totally fine. I'm gonna make one change. This wasn't happening earlier. And that's a crash.
If you click the button that says call stack, what's it say? At the bottom. Yep.
Ooh. Render pass, render object.
Can you just take a screenshot and put in the channel?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, question for you. So this is from Dr. Blue. How often can you go back to the artists and go, I want insert thing that doesn't exist yet for this part of the level, which would be cool, until it gets to the point where there's no time for more back and forth?
When can I do that? Whenever I want. As long as Sandy is kind enough to make the art.
Yeah. The cool thing about being a small team is that communication's pretty easy.
So if
can
you
really look over.
look in the corner, here I'll make it like a little bigger. This like tile set that we're constructing here is a template that we've established is like all the pieces we're gonna need for all the levels. So before I start working on the actual layouts at all, Sandy's already made like one or two cool tile sets that like work within that template. Like look, here's like the interior and the exterior for this area, and they're like in the same spots. So the bones, so to speak, of the art are like already in place, and it's usually just like once the level itself starts to like take more of an identity, it's like, oh, it'd be neat if like this part had a piece that looked like this or whatever, and we'll like go in and add those things one by one. Okay, this room's almost done. These guys are popping. I feel like these guys up here are like too much now. You don't need them, but it would be cool if like by going over there you could like activate something. So maybe I'll put one there.
So Red Yacht
This could be
wants to
like
know,
that.
how do you design secret areas? Do you have a specific number you choose to hide in each area, or do they show up when you have a new idea on where to hide them?
We try to make it mostly consistent, you know. It's like each level's probably gonna have this many secret areas or whatever. For Shovel Knight, I think it was like 5 per level, and for Mina, we've done the math, and I have those numbers over here. So in the crypt, there's 60 rooms total. There's like 42 main rooms, 13 secret rooms, 4 sub rooms, which are like not a whole room, but like a tiny piece of another room. An example of that is like, where's a good one? Where's my favorite one? Up here. Like this is like it's not really a secret room. It's, you know, like a secret room would be like this, where there's like a whole room off to the side, you know? But like a sub room is my cool name for like when inside of one room we like squeeze a little bit more gameplay in there, like this. And there's just like a quick little thing in there. That's a sub room. So, yeah, I don't know. 5 of those, 10, 15 actual secrets, 42 main rooms, adds up to roughly 60 rooms of stuff. And then we try to like have a good distribution of like, you know, one-way, like bigger scrolling rooms. And then this got like one two-way scrolling room, which is like a big room. So we try to just make that mostly consistent, but it's also good if each level has more of a different feel a little bit. Like you don't want them all to feel like they're exactly the same template, but you do want a template so that like the player has expectations of how long a level is going to take and everything. The worst thing you want is that they just lose the thread of like what they're doing and what's happening and what's going to happen next. It's good when you have expectations that you can latch onto, because when those are subverted, you can play that for impact. So, you know, the crypt had this many rooms. The crypt feels like a very normal level to me. So like maybe Bone Beach has like more secrets. Maybe one level has like less secrets. Usually like the level we make at the very end of the game, it has like not a lot of secrets because you're like focused hopefully on like fighting the boss and finishing the game, right? And so we don't want to like waste your time with a bunch of like nonsense on the sides. But for this level, we totally want lots of nonsense on the sides. Will there be any auto-scrollers in Mina? Dude, totally. I'm not gonna let there not be any auto-scrollers. People are very divisive about them, though.
Hey, Alec.
Uh-huh.
I still haven't been able to repo that crash. What was it that you're doing? You're just playing through the game?
Just, I don't know. It's like a build thing. It's like I make a change and then it crashes. And then I recompile and then it's good.
I got a different crash.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Okay, so these guys are over on the sides. I'm gonna move them. I'm gonna make it like this, so they're all like really close. So it feels like, oh, they're all gonna pop, aren't they? Ugh. That'll be a little clearer, I think. I'll copy the properties from that one. 4 might be too many. How about 3 of them? And then we still need a way to like get over here. Maybe not though. The reason that these are here so that it can feel like there's more egg sacs in the room, but they're not even on screen when you enter, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm just gonna get rid of those guys. See how that's feeling. Maybe this could like be more safety. When you get here, you're gonna be like maximum scared. So if you had somewhere to jump to, that would be good. Maybe it should be like thinner though. Like this is your only spot. It's like just that one tile. Completely contradicting what I just said.
Are you routing them through a specific... Oh yeah, I guess you are. You gotta go left. Unless you have Spider Buddy.
Since we're getting some crashes right now, I'm just trying to like design the whole thing without playing it. That seems good. There needs to be like a reason to go here though, so why don't we put a little candle there?
A corner?
That looks very
That's illegal.
You don't like that, do you?
That is illegal.
What if
We gotta
it's
have,
can I use these or whatever? That's not illegal.
that's more legal.
I'll do that. I'll do that later. It could be on the side.
Yeah,
More
just-
side
yeah,
candles.
yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
And we'll give you nice big magic. No, but that can't be there because he's got nowhere to run. So that's no good.
Oh, right.
I'll put that tooth there and we'll have the feeling of symmetry a little bit more.
You could just put the magic in the tooth.
Oh yeah. Good thinking, Sandy.
Woohoo!
I gotta delete this guy in the corner. You can't have him. They don't do anything. It's stupid. Alas. Even if it's just cool decoration, right? The player's gonna think like, oh, I must be able to get up there. That's why they would put that there. But you can't. That's a lie. Okay.
I really want to have a goop layer where there's just like strings of goo with collision that you have to just attack to break to get through.
A goop layer?
You know what I mean? Like a layer of goopy collision that you just gotta break.
Like in
Like bramble.
like does it damage me?
No. It's just collision, but it's like
That's what these
not-
teeth are, dude.
Yeah, I know. But the teeth serve a purpose. Well, I guess that's true. I guess that would just be like a bush.
Embrace the teeth.
Embrace the teeth. Maybe we need a goop version of it then. A goop bush.
I'm putting these guys back there too. Big part of level design is making a change and then realizing that that's dumb and then undoing it. I'm feeling good about this though. This room's looking pretty dang done.
So I have another question for you guys. So Reg Yacht wants to know, do you have a rule of thumb for how many times a particular element should show up before it starts being combined with other ideas?
Yeah, usually like the first time you see something, it's in isolation and we force you to do it. Like you drop down somewhere and it's a roadblock for you that you like have to interact with and have to progress through. So the player has to see how the thing works. Usually the first time we do that, it's from a position of safety. Like this isn't the first room you're going to see these egg sacs in, but if I was making the first room that you're going to see them in, it would be... Let me grab a room. You know, this is a very crappy example, but you know, we would just put them like right in your way, and then we would make it so that you have to walk by it probably to like see how it works. So it might be something like that. That gets the idea across, I think. If you guys figure out what's causing that crash, it's probably just like one object. I could just delete it out of here. Because this popped up like halfway through the stream. So it's probably because I like added something.
So I have another question for you while we're reading.
Sure.
How long does it usually take to design the basic tile set for a level? And this is by Esper Noir.
Well,
Like
Sandy.
the visuals? If you're referring to the visuals, I usually spend about a week on a new tile set and just kind of using some bulleted points about the themes that we've discussed as a group, and then I'll, you know, collect a bunch of reference material and try and base. We like to try and have 2 tile sets per zone, so there's like an interior and an exterior tile set. So I'll make, based on the template that we have, a selection of collision tiles and walkable tiles and a few extra pieces just for visual flavor. And then we'll use those to create the first pass of the level. And then once we actually have some progression to the level using that tile set, I'll do another pass just to kind of add new things that we thought about during the creation of the level. Like Alec was saying, you know, there were some things that he wanted, like, you know, the teeth didn't get added until recently, and we might want to add some more unique like elements to make it feel like you're in the body of a creature or something that weren't thought about before. And then we'll probably do a final pass closer to the game's completion.
All right, I got all the setup. I'm going to continue my spiel for Reg Yacht. So yeah, the first time we see an enemy is usually like going to be a setup like this, where like you have to see how they work. There's no way to interact with them before you like trigger them all and then go like, oh, okay, I understand. That's how they work. And then outside of that, after you see them in isolation, we'll usually start doing simple setups and then combining them with other stuff. I like to have a section that like focuses on that enemy, and then I like to shelve that enemy for a little bit and focus on something else. And then usually later throughout the level, 1 or 2 more times, I'll like bring them back for a little bit just to be like, hey, remember this guy? Now you have to deal with him while this is happening. So usually it's like, I'd say 2 or 3 chunks of like them being utilized. First to like introduce them, second to like provide some flavor or texture for like another idea, and then finally to like overwhelm the player and like make them think of all of the stuff at once. So usually it comes in like chunks like that. What do you know? There's another cool room. This room's super boring, but you get the idea. Okay, so then you walk into the egg layer proper. You've been introduced to the idea of being afraid of these popping eggs, but now we need to like do something really scary with it. So, what should that look like? I'm dying off screen. It does seem like these guys can walk out of camera bounds though, and they shouldn't be able to do that. Yeah, if you want to, someone wants to make a bug about that. Screw it, I'll do it. Ba, ba, ba. Grub enemy not constrained to camera bounds. That's on you, David.
Hey Alec, did you see David's message in Gothic?
No. Can you dump your TMX here? Yeah, 1 second. Resources, levels, core, Bone Beach.
Are we ready for another question?
Sure.
Awesome. Compile time looks... Okay, so this is by Cypherpunk, by the way. Compile time looks to be nearly instant. How important is it for your design process to keep build time low?
Extremely important.
Yes.
I've never had to work on a game that's like especially like AAA bloated, you know, but I think that would drive me crazy. Not only because oh, for some reason it wouldn't let me send that. Hold on, sorry. There you go.
When I worked on my first game, the builds took 45 minutes at the end of the project.
Oh my god.
You got very good. You got very good at writing code without knowing what it was going to do, because it took so long to actually test it. It wasn't worth.
I think the biggest danger of a long compile time for me is less that it's like annoying to have to wait or whatever, or less productive, and more just every instant of time that passes, every like second that passes, I'm like losing my train of thought. And if I have to like go back to it, it's like, oh right, what was I doing? So it being instant just makes all that a lot easier.
The second part of the question was asking if the engine is hot loading.
Yep, it sure is.
Okay.
Ain't that awesome? I feel like the egg layer needs to really feel like a cool layer. Maybe it should have some layers to it. Maybe you like pass under this part and then you have to like go up. Feels like this should be like a big room and they have lots of room to run around. So maybe it could be like that. And then you could like go under this part and then over this part. And it's like calling back to like doing these like vertical stair type things that we're doing over in the previous room. You want the thrust of the level to be sensical and logical. So if we're doing egg sacs here and there's some teeth blocks around, then those should be like further emphasized in this zone. So I know that I got to make something with these two elements in a larger space, and it probably would make sense to introduce another thing here. Where's this gonna go, I wonder? It's gotta be like one of these. It shouldn't be like the first thing you see when you enter the mouth. And then you resurface. So maybe it's like halfway into this zone. You like go up and out a little bit. So I got egg sack, I got wall clinger, I got crushing collision. I don't think that would work well. This guy's not ready yet. Maybe there could be some of those guys. Maybe I could start introducing some of the metal stuff around here. That's probably what it should be. Like you start to see that stuff creep in. Take my metal pieces, put them there. So yeah, what if you had to fight these guys on metal?
Where's the metal coming from? That's what I want to know.
This thing like ate it.
It ate just tons of
right? I think it just like ate everything, and there's like all sorts of stuff in there.
I've been under the impression too. It's like the miner folks have like started to kind of build up infrastructure in there.
Oh yeah, it's like mining carts and tracks on the ground.
Yeah. Not to just totally switch gears, but I was thinking that that would be like a cool section. Why don't we work on that for a second, just so you guys can see some different objects. Like what if this was like a really long conveyor belt going the other direction? And there's like stuff coming down the conveyor belt and hooks and stuff moving around that you had to jump for, and it was like a more industrial part. And there could be those miners like chucking pickaxes at you from the sides and stuff.
Got to put a Yoshi doll on the conveyor belt.
Is that what this art reminds you of? When you see one of those
No, just conveyor belts.
And then let's drop a big old pit in here. And make an exit for the room. And put one of these here. Maybe there's some egg sacs on the sides also. Start popping things down. Get a feel for it. It's in the wrong spot. See how that works. There's like different lanes to go on. It should probably be like something that interrupts the conveyor belt. Like a big ol' chunk of something. I'll just put collision down. You gotta like hop from side to side. I guess this has got to be 2 conveyor belts.
Those asset stretch are so funny.
It's ugly, but it gets the job done, and that's what's most important.
Like at a glance, I have no idea what that object is until you like squished it back down. We still haven't gotten your crash on our end, so I guess just keep trying.
I stopped.
It must be something really weird. Yeah, it's something with you like editing the level and then like building assets and then reloading into that same room. Something weird was happening.
Something on the conveyor belt needs to apply pressure to the player. Does this work? Can I put like crates on it? Dang it.
Great.
Yeah, they could be like going down in a line. That's not working though. Eli, you're in here, right? If I update, is any of this breakable conveyor stuff working?
Not added that yet. That's what I'm gonna work on next.
Dang it. That's alright. I could start carving this out a little bit anyways. Make some spots where you gotta hop back and forth.
We got to come up with minor lore for like who they are and why they're like shipping stuff around.
And major lore.
Who they're
Yeah, like
working
their
for.
star signs. I think we should come up with their star signs.
It's lame if
I
you
mean, we
can't actually fight these guys. I kind of need to like make bridges so that they can go here.
we were talking a bit about how like this mining operation could connect to bonestone and bonestone dust. I don't remember where that went.
I think, yeah, that's what they're mining for. That's another goal of this level that I haven't mentioned yet, but we're calling it like the bone beach, and bones are a currency, so it should have like a little bit of like a gold rush kind of feel to it. I want the player to have the feeling of like, oh, there's like a lot of riches here, but it's like a dangerous area, and so I think I'm gonna like rely on things that give you bones just like a lot more, but try to balance it in such a way that technically you don't really get that many more bones from doing this level, because that would like break the balancing of the game. But there's like these enemies that we have that are like pinatas that you gotta pop, and they give you a lot of bones. He like hops around, and when you smack him, bones come out.
It just dawned on me that a lot of people might not be familiar with Bonestones because I don't think they were even in the trailer.
They're in the crypt, so if you watch one of those playthroughs, you can see it. But yeah, this is like an enemy. You gotta like kill him in time if you want his bones. So, you know how like you're playing Dark Souls or whatever, and a Titanite lizard like runs across the screen. You're like, oh, I gotta get it, get him, get him, get him. This is like that kind of an enemy. It would make sense if there were just like a lot of these guys littered about, more than like normal.
Should put Bonestones in the teeth.
That's like that's a pickup though, so I don't want to do that like too often. But that would be neat if it happened occasionally. Could be one right here. Let's
Gotta have Bonestone all around
let's
this area.
It would be cool
wait,
if there was
there's already
like
one on the screen. No, I'm not doing that.
Naturally forming.
it'd be cool if there was like a bonestone cache room somewhere, like a little treasure room, except that every time that you pick one up, it does like that little twirl animation, so it would take you like 30 seconds to pick up more than like 3.
That sounds. You said that it would be really cool, but I think you meant to say it would be really annoying if.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. It'd be cool because you'd be rich, but like, well, how many times do you want to watch that spin happen?
Cool in the ironic sense.
I think being bonestone rich would be pretty cool,
Oh yeah.
but it would test my patience.
This room's awesome.
You could have a golden version of the tooth that like you know is a bonestone if you break it.
Ooh.
Might be cool.
Gold tooth. Maybe it takes like 3 attacks to break it though.
Ah. Dang it. It got me. Foiled by my own setup. Oh my god. Oh my god. Got him.
Go.
Cool. That's working. It should probably be that you like have to go up there. Maybe 2 lanes is a fool's errand. I should try to like condense this so to have only one more impactful lane.
I still like the idea of putting in like fool's gold. Like you think it's a bone stone, but it's like slightly different. When you pick it up, it's like, oh, it's just a rock.
Like a
Fool's
Rupor.
bone.
You guys
The
remember
miners?
Rupors from Skyward Sword?
Would the miners be able to tell that you got Fool's Bone Stone? Or whatever we call it.
Yeah, they'll probably try and sell it to you. There could be an
That'd be really
NPC
funny.
that's like trying to sell you fool's bones.
Could be like a slow poke tail situation. You could accidentally buy it and be like, oh no.
Right. I'll give you this discounted bone stone. I don't need it anymore. You like pay him real bones for this fake fool's bones.
Can he disappear and show up like in random places? Because he has to have a pop-up shop so the authorities don't find him.
Maybe it's.
I feel like once you get fooled once, though, you're gonna wanna
You could
get
give
your
him
money
different
back.
hats, disguises,
Oh right,
like a
He's
mustache.
fooling you. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Just a good mustache.
Let's add one of these hooks. I like really can't see these. I'm gonna make a new layer called conveyors. Delete all that. And I'm gonna set that to be lower opacity so that I can see what the heck I'm doing. There we go.
Earlier, Reggie Ruler asked, will the whip be used for platforming at all?
You mean like whipping a grapple point and then like swinging across somewhere or something?
Yeah, I think a couple people have said like you if you whip that hook, you like zoom to the hook or something.
That could be cool, but you got to remember that the player in this game can have one of up to 3, 4, 5, a certain number of weapons. So we can't count on you having the whip for any part of this game. So everything's got to work in spite of that. Where's my hook? Where's he at? Oh.
Oh, he's so slow.
Where'd he go? There he is.
He's so cute. That's pretty fast, actually.
Yeah.
That is much too
He's
fast.
zooming.
He's also, I don't want to go that way. I want to go the other way. Time speed 3. What's the speed of these conveyors? Oh, there's their default. Let's set them to 3. Make it all 3. Oh, 3 is fast. That's too fast. You should be able to fight against it. How about 2? Might be a little too much. Just a little bit. 1.75. I can like fight it if I want to a little bit. That's feeling good. Okay.
Reg Yacht asks, will the weapons have optional challenge rooms like the relics in Shovel Knight that require you to use them?
I could see that happening, but there's nothing planned right now. Those are added because it's like we need the player to like understand some things about the properties of the sub weapon or whatever. So once we get to that point in this game, I could see us encountering a similar solution. But right now, no, there's nothing like that planned. I'm gonna make this go and do pit so that the conveyor feels like it actually has danger associated with it. And I'm gonna make you enter this room from above. Right now it doesn't connect to anything anyway, so it doesn't super matter. Again, this is like what I mean when it's like, it's easy when you have like stuff to anchor the level to, right? It's like, okay, I have a room that's in where the routing is in the shape of like going down and then right. And so it's like, it gets easy to slot stuff together when it's like, well, this room needs to connect to some other room, so maybe it could connect to this one. So let's have you start by like going down here. The pit could be there, the wall could be here. Like that. And then you have to like hop on the conveyor belt. I can go further actually. Yeah, maybe it's fine like that though. I'll move this down a little bit, give you more room. And then it should like stop here to like force you onto the thing. And then continue elsewhere down the line. Let's see how that goes. Let's see if that hook is working too. Now they're going the same speed. All right. All this animation is very temp, by the way. I was messing with it to try and make it so that it was more like centered up a little bit, but obviously it like doesn't line up.
Yeah, it's not actually implemented entirely correctly either.
So just as a heads up, it has now hit 1 p.m. So.
Oh boy. Let me add a few more things to this room. I want to mess with that wall clinger guy. I feel like he'd be good here. Maybe there could be like a few of these guys. And they're like shooting at you, but you can jump on the hooks to try and avoid the damage and like have it carry you. These things are too big. There we go. It's starting to look like gameplay. Maybe the hooks should go the other way? No, because then you could just ride it forever. But I like the idea of these guys are like shooting at you and I can try to grab these things. It's like too high, I can't grab it. Is there a property for that? Height 0.75. Maybe a little too low. Got any other questions?
Yeah. Okay, let's see. I have some slightly off-topic ones. Like, okay, actually, here's a more on-topic one. Is there any way that we could see a process for making a subroom? It'd be fantastic to see how you fit space like that into a larger room.
Sure. Where would a good subroom be? Maybe I think this would make sense if you went under this part like I was talking earlier. Let's make one of those. So first thing first, you put one of these guys in there, like a little piece that you can go over. And then I'm going to take these tiles, I'm going to put them on a layer that's slightly above so that it'll sort correctly and you can have ground beneath. Then, rather than copy, or rather than set all that up manually, I'm going to open up the crypt here and copy and paste these so that it works. You're going to go in this spot, you're going to go out this spot, and we need another room for it to actually link to. So I'll make one up here. I like it when you're in like the same place on the screen. So it looks like we have 1, 2, 3 tiles to the top of the screen when you do this. So that's in the right spot. Then we need a way to exit that. So copy and paste them over, give them different names. That was 1A and 1B. This will be 2A and 2B, which links up to 2B and 2A. Then we gotta do the same stuff over here. But we have different art that's like a little darker, so it feels like you're inside somewhere. And then wall pieces right there and right there. Or wait, no, the opposite of that. Right like that. And link it all up. Setup is always the worst part. That looks good. And we have a bunch of like garbage in here. Let's clean this up a little bit. And I like it when it's just black.
Yeah, black.
It feels scary. I need a black.
Use a dark blue.
I'll
I'll
just make it a pit.
The other sheet has a dark blue that could work. Like a really dark.
Dark blue ain't black, Sandy.
I know.
Okay.
I think there's one in the agnostic tile sheet.
Oh yeah.
Have that.
At long last, now we can go under here. Bloop. Almost. Why doesn't this one work?
I think those are regular walls.
No, they just need to be swapped.
Yeah.
Because right and left are flipped when you're inside.
Oh yeah.
So now you can go underneath here and pop out there. And this is probably as wide as it should be. I want it to be that you can like see over there from this side. And if it were any wider, you wouldn't be able to do that. So now we've got one of these. Looking cool. I feel like it's like too big. You can't like see that it goes in because it's just too much. So I'm gonna bring it in by 1. So it looks like there's more of a hole. It's less of a secret. And then all these will come down by 1. And then do the same thing for the inside. There. Now it's like more obvious that there's something right here. And as for the gameplay, I mean that really depends on like the thrust of the main room. I haven't done this part yet, so it's like a little hard to jump to this part. But I do know that this is gonna be like some eggs and teeth and wall clinger guys. So let me just drag those elements over here. And maybe it could just be like a simple wall clinger thing.
That's so rude.
That he's like in there.
Yeah. You're like, ooh, hidden room. Oh no.
What if it was just dead simple like that?
I can't get over it. Poor Mina.
Poor Mina. She has to deal with so much terrible stuff all the time. Stop it! And you're out of there. That's not very fair though, because he can just shoot you right at the start. You need more room. So let's make it so that this like comes in by 1 or 2 even. So you got just a little bit of safety. And then resumes up there. So you gotta make a mad dash for it. Seems like maybe not enough space for this idea, though. It also seems like dead simple. Maybe it's like a bunch of teeth are in here and you gotta cut your way through.
Hey, I got a question from
spots.
Cypherpunk.
Shoot.
As a designer, how do you break through the barrier of not wanting to try ideas / genres because they've already been done? But well, so that's the question. But I feel like actually sometimes it's cool to try existing ideas.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously not trying to just rip everything off from other games, but that's where so many ideas start, you know? You know what, actually, this might be cooler if it was like a long section, and you like went down this piece, and then like popped out over here, and then you had to like go back up this way. Then I would have plenty of room for whatever nonsense I want. Let's do that. So this can be like a real cool long section. And so that when you get to this, you can like understand the routing a little better. You're like, oh, there's the stairs. I'm so close. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was the question again? How do you not rip stuff off all the time, right?
Yeah. Like, well, how do you, like, do you ever not try an idea because it's already been done?
Some things feel like they're sacred, you know? I don't want to just like replicate the gameplay entirely, but an easy way to recognize if something would be fun is if you've had a similar type of gameplay in a different game. And I've played a bunch of platformers and action games in my last 28 years old, 27 years of living. So there's always just a lot of things that we pull from without even trying, but we always try to like remix it or introduce a new idea or escalate it beyond whatever you do in that game. So like these egg sack things are a fantastic example. This mostly started as like, well, we could use like a small enemy, we could use a creepy like organic looking enemy, and so I was thinking about these guys from Gemini Man stage from Mega Man 3. Let's pull that up real quick. Those things, right? The way these work, come on, Mega Man, is you shoot them and then a guy comes out. And like, hey, what do you know? That's like kind of the same thing that we're doing here. But they obviously like work totally differently and they have different types of fun associated with them. These guys are about like platforming. Based on which ones you shoot, you like essentially are making platforms for yourself, but every time you shoot one, it's like creating an enemy, so you got to watch out a little bit. Similarly, these guys are providing like kind of similar fun. It's like by destroying them, you can navigate through the room in a different way. However, by doing that, you're also creating an enemy that you then have to deal with. But it's in like the details where the Mega Man gameplay and the Mina gameplay just like don't actually really have anything in common. This isn't a platformer, so it's not like I'm like jumping on top of them to like get to places. Instead, it's like more about how you carve through them and like which ones you want to break and which ones you don't. Additionally, they have this like chain behavior, so like a mass of a lot of them can be like really scary, but like just one or two on their own aren't. And so by giving them details and intricacies and designing the enemies and the objects to not just be exactly another game, it makes it such that in order to create engaging level design that takes advantage of those enemies and objects, I like have to design different situations, right? If we just put these guys in there exactly, it would be really, really hard for me to not just like do what Mega Man already did. But by making the stuff different, you make different layouts while hopefully still like having some of the feeling and the fun of the inspiration that led to the design of the guy in the first place. But sometimes you do end up with like similar stuff, right? Especially for like the basic objects. It's like, I don't know, like a rock, right? It's like it's gonna be hard to like make situations where you're throwing a rock in this game that aren't similar to like throwing a pot in Zelda. But hopefully again, like the nuances of it can make it a little different. Instead of like walking up to it and boringly picking it up, you have to burrow underneath it. So we know that you have to be in your burrow in order to even like start throwing this rock. So that like that already makes it a little bit different. And then some things we just say like, no, we're never gonna do that. Like, when I think about playing a 2D Zelda, I sure do think a lot about like hitting a switch and a door opens or like pushing a block around. And rather than try to make that cooler in this game, it's like, no, I don't even want to, like, we shouldn't even touch that. Zelda owns that and they can own that because it's boring and lame. And I just like don't, let's just like not have that at all. That's like too much. Or sometimes it's like that idea is like too cool and we just don't feel comfortable ripping it off. A great example of that are those Mega Man blocks that go boop, 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 one at a time, and they make a weird pattern. Those are so great. I love them so much, but like I don't think there's a way we could make that without it just feeling like we're ripping off Mega Man entirely. So it's like, let's not even try. Let's just challenge ourselves to come up with cooler ideas. Okay, so now there's room for all this. I can make this zone nice and long. And then let's have it dump you out over on the side after you get all the way down here. I feel like this would be a good time, this stage, I mean, to explore all sorts of like navigational intricacies. Like this is the level where you're going like up and down through stuff, so like maybe it'd be cool to like go into a big long part and have like lots of elevation changes that you could be thinking about and like trying to utilize. I think a lot of a lot of what goes into this happens like pretty naturally as you make levels too. You know, it's like I don't want to do the same thing I did in the last level. I like can't, you know, because I already like did that idea. So you just kind of have to challenge yourself to come up with new stuff. And if you just do that for a whole game, then what do you know? You have you have a whole game of new, cool, engaging encounters, and job well done. Okay, so that one goes there now, and that one goes there. And now we have tons of room. And we don't need that room anymore. So now you go into this room, you do a bunch of cool stuff, you look over there, you're like, oh, there's a little hole there. You get to the end of it, and then you're like, oh man, there's nothing here. Then you go inside. Whoa, and you gotta do this part. You do something cool here, and then you exit here, and then you do something cool over here, and then you go up here, and then you're out of there.
Whoa.
It's
Routing.
It's also good when you can like feel what the room is supposed to be. This is a room chunked into like 3 lanes. And so if I'm gonna do that, I may as well really lean into that and make it feel like 3 distinct lanes instead of this one like big weird thing and then like a collision and then like a tiny thing. So my gut right now says you should probably like bring all of this over so it can be like equidistant from one another. That'll make it easier too to like see this lane from this lane. Let's check these distances. Seems like this one is 1 more. Needs to be 1 longer. So rather than do that, I'll just make this one smaller. And that way we have a little bit more room for our inside part as well. And then I'll move all these layers so that it actually works. You'll like often hear me talk about like the idea of a room, the thrust of a room. Eventually it starts to like feel like the room like knows what it wants to be, and the less you fight that, I think the clearer and easier it'll just be to understand for everybody. This room wants to be a room with 3 lanes, so I should make it a room with 3 lanes. I can't see this art. What am I grabbing? Okay, 1 more. then this comes over one. And then this is that far. So it needs to come in by 2. So grab everything. Grab the walls first. Move them over 2. Grab everything else. Move that over 2. Fill in the dead space. Okay, I think this is now ready to actually make something in. Go in here. You go down here. Go up here. If you go up here, though, there's no room to, like, do anything. So I think you need to actually go up some stairs, like, at the bottom or something here. This seems like not enough room for anything now, though. Maybe you could just walk in the middle of it. Like there? Right around? Instead of all the way up there, and that way this can have gameplay associated with it as well. I'll block that off, so I don't have to worry about it. Do this so it looks nicer.
That corner, like, intestine piece is so satisfying.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. It's the style.
Yeah. I like it.
And again, since like it seems like we have this like middle part that you're gonna go on, it would make sense if you were actually like using it for something. Like these are ledges you could drop down, and if you did, that would suck. You don't want that to happen. So I should put stuff here that like makes the player want to do that by accident, so that it's something that you can like look out for. So a good way to do that would be to probably just put one of these wall clinger guys like shooting down the middle, maybe a couple of them, so you're like running left and right here on this middle part a lot. What are some other things that would make you like run left and right a lot on here? Any like damage coming like vertically? Really any hazards? I don't know. I'm kind of jumping ahead. Should do this part first, really, so I know what objects are actually going to be going there. Let's work on this part a little bit. Let's have this guy be like right there.
Cypherpunk says the intestine piece is great. It's colon to me. Like calling, I think. But like colon?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Uh-huh. Very funny.
That's like the first intestine pun I think I've ever seen attempted.
It's gonna go down in history.
Darktone asks, what is Poppet? You think we're just gonna tell you that? That's for those who don't know, that's a cool character that we made. This is kind of neat. You can just kill this guy right at the start though, which is a little disappointing. But again, I don't like putting enemies in the stage that you can't kill if you are able to kill them. The player's just gonna want to, and it's gonna feel bad that you can't. So with that in mind, maybe step 1 is put him further away so that you're like maybe disincentivized loosely from going up there. But we might need something more limiting than that even.
Reg Yacht says we're just intestine the waters here. Ha ha.
By the
Very
way,
good.
I haven't updated at all. I haven't updated the build at all, but like, I haven't seen that crash in forever, so I don't know what that was. It might be
Good.
because I'm streaming this to Discord and YouTube and running the game and like doing a million things at once and recording it. That's looking good. But if you had the knives or something, it might be a little hard to get to them. So why don't we just
Yeah,
like...
I was gonna ask, like, do you have to be within like, you know, less than a tile with the daggers to hit something?
When we're designing these main weapons, we're like trying to make it so that they feel very different. They have like upsides and downsides, but all of them are like capable of approaching the same setups. It shouldn't be that it's like I can't kill this enemy because like my range is straight up just too small. I like can't. I'm trying to like avoid that type of thing, but it's better if the weapon is avoiding that rather than forcing me to like change what the level layout is all the time. So that's why you've got this like big ol' stab to help close the distance. It's like this might be like a little too far for like these daggers, but you could like reach over there with that. But it's like a
Oh,
good
that's
thing.
cool.
It's a good thing that that's like scary and difficult. It's like a good thing that that's an intentional weakness of this weapon. It's a good thing that that makes you think like, oh man, maybe I should have the whip. Maybe the whip is cool after all, even though it's really slow. Maybe it's actually really cool.
That's cool though that like the if you hit it with the daggers, like doing that dash, that it knocks you back far enough.
Yeah, we also try to just like think about the distances too, so that that there's a consistent unit we can like test for, right? It's like the whip lets you hit guys that are like 3 tiles away. I'm like never gonna ask that of the player, but I might ask them to hit like 2 tiles. So if the daggers like have a way to do that, doesn't have to be a good way to do it, but just like any, you know, if you can like toenail it and do that, then that seems like it'll help everything. So this is a cool start. And if you don't kill that guy, then you've got like more projectiles coming your way. But you probably don't want them shooting you from like a billion miles away. So I can set his ranges so that he just like stops shooting. But even better, I can just make the level design feel like that's not going to happen. So let's like drop a thing in here to cork you a little bit and make you like move along the sides. This area's got like a lot of pits. Maybe we should like lean into like the pit jumping and like all of this. It seems like it's kind of like where it's heading on its own. What do you think the pits should be, Sandy?
What do you mean? Like, oh, like
why would there be
from-
pits inside of here? That doesn't make sense, you know.
I mean, it could just be like some decayed, you know, something that decayed and kind of left a crevice in the body.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing's a mine. I feel like cave, like, you know, pits aren't that hard to
But it's
explain.
a mine built inside of a body. So like there couldn't be a bottomless pit.
No, right.
I mean, it's a video game. We could do it if we wanted, but it might be cool to think
You
about.
You don't know how tall the body is. Maybe it's very, very tall.
Maybe it could be like a new type of water or something that you can't swim through. And it's just like green, and you just fall in there, and that's that.
Could be acidic.
And it's essentially a
die.
pit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Acid deep water.
Yeah. Maybe you could swim through it, but you like tick down damage every single
yeah, that'd be
instant
good.
you're in it. That's a Dark Souls thing for sure.
We gotta have pits too somehow, though.
That animated that animated wall tile is so nuts.
Hey guys, just a heads up, we're creeping up on 1:30.
Hey, it might be time to call this one. I'm getting hungry. It's almost lunchtime.
Same.
I gotta move my car for the street sweeper.
Oh no.
Why don't we round up one last couple of questions, and then we'll call it for today.
Yeah, that was some
Yeah.
good progress.
Okay, let's do. Okay, so chat, start asking questions. We'll do maybe like a silly one, and then a normal one. Okay, how did Frank Nelson get afflicted by all of these cosmic horror parasites? And that's by Regiot.
I'm assuming that Frank Nelson is the community name for this large monster that this level takes place in.
Yes.
All right.
Frank Nelson.
How did it get all mysteriously corrupted and disgusting and decayed? I don't know. Do you really want me to just tell you that right now?
No, I had said gas station sushi, but I don't know if that's our plan.
I don't think we should give that away. That's the mystery that you will have fun in covering as you play through the level, I think. Does the game keep track of how many teeth you destroyed? No. We should have cool stats at the end of the credits, though. I always like doing that. Number of times died.
And then I guess the last question is another. Let's see. Let's do another silly one. Everyone's favorite lunch spot.
Lunch spot?
Yeah.
I don't know. I need a new one. I'm tired of all the food on our street at work.
How
now.
dare you?
Me too. Me too.
Which is such a bummer because it's like the best food.
It's literally the best. You guys are all dead to me. I miss killer noodles so much.
I'm getting sick of all these delicious noodles every single day, all the time.
Okay, and then one development themed question. Let's see. Are you seeing any development themed questions?
No, it's kind of slow. I think a couple folks have said like they in their time zone it's pretty late, so I just wanted to say I think we're gonna try doing like different time zones to see if we can accommodate more folks.
Yeah, so the next one, depending on our schedule, we'll try to have it be more earlier for certain time zones as well. So we appreciate everyone hanging out with us and doing our thing.
I want to answer one more good question. Any chance of including a secret developer room in Mina, kind of like the one they had in Final Fantasy IV? You know, I always liked those types of things, but we haven't really done that ever before. I mean, something that like really calls out like, hey, this isn't in the world of the game anymore, but like we're the developers. I don't want to like take the player out of their sense of immersion or whatever, you know. But I don't know, something like a Chris Houlihan room I think would be cool. You guys, do you know what that is?
No.
In Link to the Past, they did a Nintendo Power contest where it's like whoever wins the contest gets like their own. They get their own room in the new Zelda game. And the kid that won was named Chris Houlihan, and so there's a room in the game in Link to the Past that's like this. My name is Chris Houlihan.
Yeah. Okay. Once you started describing it, I'm like, oh, I know what that is.
This is my top secret room. Keep it between us, okay?
That's awesome.
So one of the things that we have to do for this game because of the Kickstarter is have lots of cool, like for the people that backed that pledge, like you need your name in the game or like your nickname in there or something. Maybe it'd be fun to make like a special room, and if you're like one of those backers and like your version of the save file, it's like this is the Alec room. And you're like, oh, that's me. Maybe something a little like that.
Hall of Champs, which is a similar sort of concept.
Oh yeah, Hall of Champs is that's kind of the thing. Midden secret room.
Yeah. It's like the Bodie McBoatface room.
Yeah, I like the idea of if you're a special backer and you put in your special backer name, then you get like some neat little secret things in your save file that don't really change the game, but like make you feel a little special. All right, I think that's gonna do it for us. I'm gonna go make some lunch. This was so much fun. You guys' questions were awesome. Love sharing this part of development with y'all, and we'll do it again soon. Right before this, I was even saying it might be fun to just do more regular level design streams in general outside of secret backer stuff. So who knows? Maybe we'll pick this up on just one of our Twitch streams sometime in the near future.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
See you all next time.
See
Yeah.
ya.
Keep an
Bye,
eye out for
guys.
any other Kickstarter updates. You get notified in your email, and if you backed on Pledgebox, we just email them to you. Okay, that's my spiel. Okay.